Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de, well, let's see why I feel so lucky to have fired because AI is coming to get ya. By who, of course, I mean all those cushy white-collar jobs. Oh yeah! A rant about AI, that's this one. Hey, Zemfuck here. So I saw this post, okay, on one of the fire subreddits that made me kind of chuckle a bit. And it basically was talking about, boy, am I glad to be on track for fire, okay? Because now that AI is almost here, and it's about to decimate white-collar jobs or whatnot. Yeah, okay, I think, that sounds a bit doom and gloom and all, but let's be fair, okay? In concept, I am totally with this dude's sentiment, okay? Whatever AI turns out, whether it's industry breaking or more like a whimper, one thing is absolutely certain. You mention AI anywhere these days, and there's just a giant red warning sign about how this line of technology will affect white-collar jobs, same as automation has destroyed blue-collar ones, right? So today, I think we're just gonna rant a bit about why the only people who really aren't worried about AI at all are people on their way to fire, or like myself, who's obviously already fired, okay? So my life experience versus this ambiguously powerful and disruptive technology, okay? So if you're intrigued by what I might say, please subscribe, like, comment, share, all that social media buzzwords. I don't really care because I'm rich enough for me and I'll be great regardless of what you do. So first, let's go through, what the imagined scenario would be. So the worst, the best case of effects of AI for just regular employees. Okay, that's who I care about. I don't care about companies, right? Now, to be honest, I don't really hear anything about what the best case would be. So let's just assume that's like a minimal disruptive presence. Let's say maybe a 5% reduction in workforce that can be automated, right? Again, mostly for white-collar people. But really, we want to concentrate on the worst case, okay? Now, if you believe the media, my God, I hear anywhere from 50 to 70% of white-collar employees might be cut. While this sounds really bad, the truth is nobody has an actual timeline as to when this will occur, okay? Now, there are some actual Debbie Downers of the world that argues that it's already started. Thus, the layoffs at some notable tech companies or just large companies that's beginning even right now in 2025, right? So what their general point is that no one in an office is really safe, right? Not the troops, not even really the lower managers, right? I think this wave of technology will actually separate out the real rock stars at office work from the people who are just coasting. Now, I've worked in a corporate office for more than a decade. So from that experience as a corporate drone, I can tell you personally, there are a ton of waste that the average office worker puts in. And that's really what will be aimed at and scrubbed. Now, is that fair? Not for me to say. You better believe that the overlords at corporations will take that perceived waste as the reason to start slashing headcount. Now, my point is, this wave of change, it's inevitable, right? And I think it's very similar to how manufacturing was decimated in most first world countries in the last couple of decades. Now, it's come for cushy office workers. And really, the trend is unstoppable, right? And just like what happened with blue-collar workers, okay? It's the employees that will get screwed, okay? Employee gets the short end of the stick, but corporate profits will only go up, up, and up as a result, okay? So now, second point, let's talk about how I think this affects people who are working towards fire, which is the majority of the fire group. Let's be clear, okay? Well, I think it should light a fire under you guys' butts, right? I mean, I just said no type of job is safe. That's what AI shows you. Now, if you believe what the internet says, a great proportion of people interested in fire are higher earners. So if anything, the imminent approach of AI should force this group to really step it up and suck it up in the short term at least, right? Because the long-term view on great tech-paying jobs, like the ones that got me to fire, that's actually quite murky, right? Very much in the gray area. Now, this isn't to say, of course, that the only people who want to get to fire are younger, higher earners, right? The reality is that I don't actually see AI ever replacing plenty of people-facing jobs like teachers and so on, right? So there are still a slow and steady routes available, just like how automation did not kill all the blue-collar jobs, right? AI will not call all the, kind of genteel jobs either. But as usual, we should be aiming to increase our income while avoiding the temptation of lifestyle inflation. Now, what I expect the AI to actually have some positive effects in terms of society is lowering the cost of certain products and technologies, right? It won't be all bad. But care will need to be taken because increasing the income aspect may become more difficult, at least in the midterm, right? So you might make a little bit less money, but your life might get more comfortable, right? Because it goes both ways. That's why AI is popular. It's supposed to make things, companies run smoother, at least in concept. Now, my final point, how does it actually affect people on fire? Well, I would argue really not at all, because we don't need jobs, right? And not needing jobs is the ultimate protection against any kind of volatility in the world sphere, okay? Remember, people who are on fire or about to be fired, we are real capitalists, and that's what's important. What's good for giant international corporations is literally also what's good for me, for us, okay? This is how you use and abuse the system, right? If you work for money as an employee, well, you're just not working that efficiently. Now, I'm not saying don't ever do that. That's just silly, because I did that too. I worked as an employee because you need work to make that initial capital. However, but if you find yourself, working and working and working for decades, and if you keep working for money and never graduate to having your money make money rather than just working for money as capitalists should, then honestly, to be honest, I just don't think this is the economic system for you. The reality is that if AI really affects a larger percentage of white-collar workers as we would expect, the most likely social reaction is simply just a larger social safety net, right? Similar to something like a universal basic income. That's not a bad thing, but all it does is raise the very bottom floor for most of society, right? But even then, you might think, well, if you're in the fire world, doesn't that kind of conflict? No, because if you are already fired, you'll continue to be exceptional because you have your own investment fund on top of whatever the government will do for all citizens as a result of being, massively affected by new technology, okay? So you'll still be better than average by quite a bit. So, in conclusion, do I feel apprehension about AI as a uncertain type of technology that may have long-lasting and yet unforeseeable effects? Of course, that's life. Life is change and renewal, and new stuff will come into play. But I personally can't imagine all that stuff will become available. You cannot doubt it. That's definitely going to happen. But that doesn't mean that I bite into the doom and gloom, okay? Actually, my reaction to new career-changing technology is similar to my reaction to COVID, okay? That thing that just passed, that once-in-a-century type of pandemic, and that is, oh boy, I'm sure glad I don't have to be going through my working life during these turbulent times, okay? I didn't want to go to the office, during something like a once-in-a-century pandemic, and I never had to at all, right? I wouldn't want to be fighting with other white-collar workers for job security right now, because of the, impending doom or, entrance of the AI, but I don't have to do that either. That's why I tell you, fire is literal fire, okay? Life is good. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So am I off my rockers? Please feel free to yell at me below. Until next time, cheers. I'll approach it.